Hello everybody and welcome to the Boxing Locker. It is me, Matt Goddard. Thank you for tuning in. And today I'm going to talk about Canelo Alvarez, and whether or not we think he is really past it. Now, this is a subject that's been brought up a lot recently. At the weekend, he defeated John Ryder, who put in a good performance, who put in a brave performance and demonstrated that he belongs at that level. However, it was a relatively easy win for Canelo. Now, what does that mean, okay? Obviously, we saw off the back of the Bivol loss, everybody jumped straight off the Canelo bandwagon, and all of a sudden he was flawed in every aspect. He'd slowed down, his chin wasn't as good, his punch speed was too slow, his punch output was too slow, and all of these factors that, up until then, everybody had been completely ignoring and basically dick riding him. They were basically all up in everything he was doing, saying he was the greatest thing ever. Now, my perception of Canelo has always been the same. He's a very, very talented boxer. He's got a very good chin. He has good punch selection. And he's got a very good boxing brain. The downsides to his style are that he's probably overly patient. He's at times passive, and he probably relies on hurting people a little bit too much, especially in recent years. You know, we've seen him at kind of super middleweight, often going into the end of fights, losing on points, but then getting the stoppage late. Now, that's a process. He's developing the timing, the accuracy. He's sapping the energy of the opponents. He's progressively making a bigger and bigger impact as the fights go on. But that kind of came unstuck against Bivol. He couldn't make the same impact. He didn't have the same power. He wasn't doing as much damage. Now, the real explosion in the Canelo Alvarez hype train came off the back of him beating Kovalev. And I think people kind of ran away with that a little bit too much, thinking he was going to go up to heavyweight and all sorts of stuff. And let's be real here, he beat a very, very faded, a worn and tired Kovalev who'd just come off the back of the yard fight. He won. It was a good win. It's good that he's got that belt. Does that mean he's a top contender, or does that mean that he has the right to be amongst the Bivols and Beterbievs at light heavyweight? Evidently not. That's what we've just seen. Can you take away from that he won that belt? Absolutely not. But here's the thing. Canelo is still an exceptional boxer. He still has all of those traits that I mentioned earlier. He's still done incredible things in boxing. He's still deadly at super middleweight. He would still be deadly at middleweight if he could make that weight. The problem at light heavyweight for him is that he just doesn't have the one-punch power. He just doesn't have the work rate to win over a guy like Bivol or Beterbiev, who can throw punches in bunches, who are fit and strong, who have the chin and resistance to work through his shots and essentially be unfazed, as we saw with the Bivol fight. It wasn't just a stylistic thing. Bivol's style obviously was well made for Canelo, hands up, in and out, picking shots, everything nice and long. When you have a range and height advantage, that's a smart strategy. It's also a case of the fact that Canelo's punches didn't have the impact they normally would. When he was feinting, it was ignored. When he was doing all those kind of dramatic flares that work well against the super middleweights who were concerned for his punch power, it fell short against Bivol. Now, against John Ryder, he looked fractionally slower than previously. He looked a little bit more tired. He looked like he was a little bit more there to still be caught up. Does that mean he's past his best? Potentially past his prime. Does that mean he's incapable of still continuing to win against top level opposition? Absolutely not. Who's the man to beat him? Beterbiev or Benavidez? Possibly, yes. I think that both of those guys have advantageous attributes that would work in their favour against Canelo. Would he beat Bivol if they rematch? I believe that's his intention. I think no. I don't think he's got the ability to ramp up the punch volume, to relax on the punch power and work on scoring shots more through the rounds to pick up points, a la Sugar Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler. I think what Canelo needs to do to win that fight is be more elusive again, get back to slipping and sliding, fast combinations and then move, pick jabs and move, pick jabs and move, use his footwork as he did a bit more when we saw him in the middleweight days. Do we want to see that? Yes, I still want to see it. I think Canelo's rarely in a bad fight. There's always an element of what's going to happen next. There's always an element of, is this guy going to beat him comfortably? There's always an element of, is Canelo going to get him? Is Canelo going to hurt him here? Has he got what it takes to hurt him? And I love that. I also like the man. I think he carries himself very well around boxing. He doesn't talk too much trash. He's very composed and calm. He engages in theatrics and dramatics, outweigh-ins and stuff, but it's never overly excessive. I mean, people dramatize these things enormously and they take it a little bit too far as if it's the end of the world, and I don't think it is. I think he does what he does very well, very tempered, and he's a good thing for boxing. Here's what I think is going to happen next. They're going to look for the Bivol fight. They're not going to be able to get it. Bivol's going to be looking to unify and go undisputed against Beterbiev. So I think Canelo versus Benavidez is the next fight. And I'm not going to talk about that now because that's a whole other video to talk about, and that'll be a great video. So make sure you keep an eye out and tune in for that. If it gets announced, I will go whap straight in there, make a good video. So we're probably going to see Canelo have maybe another kind of stay active fight, and then potentially get the Bivol fight after that. I just think Bivol is kind of at his peak right now, and I think Canelo's maybe just a little bit past it. I think Canelo's peak was probably in and around Golovkin 1, maybe heading into Golovkin 2. I think over there was maybe a 4 or 5 year span where he was probably at his best, and since then the level of opposition has perhaps made it a little bit easier for him to look impressive. I think his work rate has progressively diminished in every fight, and as such I think that was really his undoing against Bivol. As I said, he's got some incredible attributes and he's achieved immense things in the sport. He's still the face of boxing. Nothing has changed in spite of various wins that have occurred. I think maybe he's got 2 or 3 more years in the game, and then perhaps he'll be looking at his retirement. But till then, we should enjoy Canelo, enjoy the great fights that he makes, enjoy the great opposition that he's boxing, and just enjoy the fact that we've got a guy out there who is really looking to box everybody. He's not avoiding anybody. A lot of people say that he's avoiding Benavidez, but I think Benavidez has had to build his profile. He's had to develop that profile and get himself in the picture there, so that his name brings a little bit more to the board. And up till now, perhaps that hasn't been the case, and now we're starting to see his name get mentioned a lot more and get a lot more recognition. So perhaps we will see that fight. With all that being said, is Canelo past it? Yes. Is he far past it? No. Will we see a lot more from him? Hopefully, yes. And fingers crossed, we see Canelo Bivol in the rematch, and then potentially Canelo Beterbiev if Canelo can beat Bivol. I don't think he can. Or Canelo Benavidez if he chooses to come back down. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for listening to my opinions and me blathering on about boxing. I've been quiet on YouTube for a while, but I'm going to get back to all of that now. So I appreciate you all. Have a great day, take care, and see you all again soon.